Steve Bannon is incredibly unhappy with the Republican Party, and aside from using Breitbart to attack his opponents, is now threatening to unseat them. And actually, it goes beyond a threat. He's actually set up an infrastructure to try to do so. Politico has the details. Now, they're reporting that Steve Bannon is now launching an all-out war against Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and the Republican establishment. Now, they write that Bannon has begun holding private meetings with insurgent challengers, vowing his support, and the support of Breitbart as well. He's also coordinating with conservative mega donor Robert Mercer, who's prepared to pour millions of dollars into attacks on GOP incumbents. And Bannon has also installed a confidant on an outside group that is expected to target Republican lawmakers and to push the Trump agenda. This activity has alarmed senior Republicans who worry that it will drain millions of dollars from the party's coffers to take on Democrats in the general election. Now, hey man, I'm failing to see what the problem is. Look, I'm actually in favor of primaries. In fact, I want more primaries on the Democratic side too. Why? It's not because I want to help the Republicans. No, it's because I believe that primaries make you a stronger candidate. And look, man, if a primary damages you so much, then maybe you shouldn't be the nominee. Just saying. But anyway. Now, I say that it makes you stronger because that's usually how it works on the left. Now, especially when candidates use populism, right? On the right, though, it usually leads to people like Christine O'Donnell, who assures you that, in fact, she is not a witch. Now, McConnell, he's, of course, flipping out over this thing. Now, Politico writes that McConnell has repeatedly expressed concern to the White House about the danger primaries pose to his members, stressing that it can imperil his narrow 4-seat majority, according to 3 people with direct knowledge of the discussion. He said the issue is, do you invest your time and energy attacking people who are carrying the president's water in Congress to the benefit of people who are trying to impeach him? That seems like an incredibly short-sighted strategy, says Josh Holmes, a former McConnell chief of staff. Now, right there is kind of a tacit admission that, hey, if you replace us with members of the far right, hey, it looks like we'll lose. So wait, are you saying that conservatism isn't good to run on, that the country isn't far right? You keep spreading that message that, oh man, America is so conservative. But wait, if you run these far right candidates, shouldn't they win? Just saying. Look, while the establishment isn't popular by any means, people have already got to look at what the far right is actually all about. Now, if you remember, during the AHCA fight, it was the far-right Freedom Caucus that pushed to make the Obamacare repeal bill as punishing as possible to poor people, while simultaneously pushing for more tax cuts for very, very rich people. It doesn't take a genius to figure out who they're in favor of. Okay, they love rich people, they hate poor people. And look, regular people, they're not in favor of that. They're not in favor of racism. So now, a lot of these Bannon-backed candidates would likely run on similar things like Donald Trump. But not necessarily. Now, some of them might run on some form of economic populism, sure. And if they do, well, if you have left-wing populism, that happens to almost always win over right-wing populism, because at its core, left-wing populism is not based on hate, it's not based on blaming other people, it's actually based on bringing everybody together for common cause. Now let's get into some of the people that Bannon is trying to unseat and the kind of candidates that he's planning to run. Now Politico writes that on Thursday, Bannon huddled with Danny Tarkanian. Now Danny Tarkanian is an attorney who's challenging Dean Heller. Bannon made it clear during the 30-minute meeting that Tarkanian had his full backing in a race against Heller, according to one person familiar with the conversation. Heller refused to endorse Trump during the 2016 campaign. Tarkanian has also ran before and has criticized McConnell over not being able to repeal the ACA. So this is one of the guys who is in favor of the AHCA. Now, that piece of legislation was disastrous. It, of course, had an approval rating of 17%. Another target is Arizona Senator Jeff Flake. Now, Jeff Flake, we're not surprised to see this one coming, as he's been a critic of the president. Now, Bannon is intent on unseating Flake, and David Bosting, the president's 2016 deputy campaign manager and the president of the influential conservative group Citizens United, has embarked on an effort to recruit several potential primary challengers, including former Representative Matt Salmon. Salmon, of course, is not saying whether or not he will actually run. Two other senators could also come under attack. Behind the scenes, Bannon has proposed the possibility of targeting Tennessee Senator Bob Corker. And those close to the former Trump chief strategist are talking about the prospect of a challenge to Mississippi Senator Roger Wicker. Now, Corker is interesting, right? This is a guy who was actually considered an ally to Trump and also might have been Secretary of State. However, since he was not sufficiently loyal to the Trump administration and, had questioned Trump's competence, now he is enemy number one. Well, maybe not enemy number one. That's Jeff Flake, but nonetheless, he is now on the shit list, and Bannon is coming for him. Now, shortly after Bannon left the White House, to show you how big this feud is getting, the site published a story promoting a potential Corker challenger, State Senator Mark Green. Now, the site has also had the possibility that State Senator Chris McDaniel, a Tea Party favorite, will take on Roger Wicker. Now, one of the big tests of whether Bannon's strategy will actually work is the upcoming Alabama Senate Senate special election. Now, this will pit McConnell versus Bannon in a race by proxy. So here you have the forces of McConnell, here you've got the forces of Bannon, and they're going to fight for Jeff Sessions' former seat in Alabama. Now, again, there's no liberals here, okay? There's conservative versus conservative. So we'll see whose ideology wins out. Now, Bannon is backing a controversial former state Supreme Court chief named Justice Roy Moore. Now, Moore, you might have remembered him for hanging a 5,000-pound Ten Commandments monument inside the state judicial building. Not only that, but he's a birther. He publicly questioned whether or not the President of the United States, or, well, the former President of the United States, Barack Obama, was actually born in America, was actually an American. Not only that, but he was suspended as Chief Justice in 2016 after he directed probate judges to not issue marriage certificates to gay couples. So this is the kind of person that Steve Bannon is pushing, okay? Now, for his part, McConnell has gone in for Senator Luther Strange, who is essentially your establishment Republican. Now, he was appointed earlier this year to temporarily fill the seat of Jeff Sessions, so now he's going to run to try to keep that seat. Speaking to prominent GOP activists at a Conservative Action Project meeting and on a Judicial Watch conference call, Bannon portrayed the September 26th primary as a defining battle between the conservative base and the GOP establishment. Now, they further say that a loss for Strange would be an embarrassment for McConnell and would show essentially that the GOP establishment is weak and open to an attack by right-wing insurgents. And now Bannon, he sees this, and he's coming with both barrels loaded, man. And what I mean by that is he's coming with millions of dollars from Robert Mercer. Now, that's that same billionaire that was Donald Trump's biggest donor in the 2016 election. In fact, Mercer has expressed a desire to go after these sitting GOP lawmakers, according to three people with direct knowledge. He's also donated $300,000 to an anti-Flake super PAC and has indicated that he's interested in giving even more to unseat the senator. Now, they also note that Bannon is setting up an infrastructure to take on establishment Republicans. He recently announced that his political advisor, a man named Andrew Sarabian. Now, if you recognize that name, then you'll probably recognize this.
Sarabies!
That's where that comes from. Like people who've watched the show, people who've watched the Young Turks, definitely remember that. Now, he was leaving the White House to take a job at Great America Alliance, which is a pro-Trump outside group that might even been the one that Tomi Lahren worked for before she got a job at Fox News, state media. Now, this is Bannon getting ready to go to war. Now let's look at the GOP. They're actually ready to fight back as well. Senate Majority Whip John Cornyn recently organized a pair of fundraisers to jointly benefit both Dean Heller and Jeff Flake. Now, they were canceled after Hurricane Harvey hit, but they're expected to be rescheduled. One was set to be at the Dallas home of billionaire Robert Rowling. Robert Rowling owns Omni Hotels and Gold's Gym. Now, it offered a reception and photo op and asked for contributions of up to $44,700. So there's the Republican establishment looking to court their own billionaires. It's going to be billionaire versus billionaire. This is going to get bloody. Awesome. So now, that's the Republicans. Now, if the Democrats were smart, because I'm a progressive, right? And I'm seeing all this go on for 2018. If the Democrats were smart, and if they wanted to actually avoid primaries, well, there's one simple thing that you guys could do. I know you're scared to death of primaries, right? Well, you could just go left. Step away from establishment pro-corporate positions and embrace popular programs. Like, for example, more infrastructure investment. I'm sure you're already in favor of that. Green energy, also in favor. Medicare for all. That's gaining a lot of steam. Not only that, but a living wage. A lot of Democrats already have. Tuition-free college education. There's much, much more that we can do for that to get more people on our side. And look, you do all those positions, and maybe you have a better chance at surviving a Democratic primary. If you don't, at the very least, you're going to miss an opportunity to defeat a weakened GOP that may or may not run on Trump's brand of economic populism. And if that happens, well, we already have an example of what happens when you put up an establishment Democrat versus a right-wing anti-establishment candidate. And I really don't think you want to repeat that. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.